Classic car expert Christoph Bauer is taking a Renault 4CV out for a spin. It was the first French car to sell more than 1 million units. During World War II, Louis Renault and some of his engineers covertly created its concept and design. Christoph says Louis Renault had already built his first car back in 1898. Together with his brothers, he founded the company Société Renault Frères. Before the Second World War, they were considered specialists at making trucks and luxury cars. And during the German occupation, the Wehrmacht forced them to build utility vehicles. After the war, Renault was nationalized and focused on bringing mobility to the masses. Soon, it had just the right vehicle to do that, the Renault 4CV. Louis Renault didn't live to see the 4CV make its debut. In 1944, he was accused of collaborating with the Nazis and arrested. He died in prison while awaiting trial. But Louis Renault's final creation sold like hotcakes. Customers waited up to 36 months for delivery of their 4CV, though for many it wasn't exactly love at first sight. Christoph says the 4CV was ridiculed when it debuted at the Paris Motor Show in 1946. The public dubbed it Le Mot de Beurre, or the lump of butter, due to its shape and sand yellow color. The color was chosen for cost reasons, as Renault still had lots of surplus paint once used for the army vehicles of the German Afrika Korps. In Germany, the 4CV had a nicer nickname, the cream cake. Due to the success of the 4CV, Renault's factory in Boulogne-Billancourt was transformed into one of the most modern car plants in Europe. Within 2 years, production rose from 12 vehicles per day to 450. In France, the innovative 4CV was loved by everyone, large or small.
Chacun sa porte. 4 places, 4 portes, 4 chevaux.
Christoph says that even in 1960, 15 years after it was first introduced, a German car magazine praised the 4CV as an exemplary, full-fledged small car. It's easy to handle and operate, is well laid out, well made, and comfortable enough. At normal speeds, it runs smoothly and handles well. Only when pushed to its limits does the car demonstrate the twitchy handling typical of rear-engine models. But he notes that, in the right hands, the 4CV even works as a race car. It had class victories in the 24-hour Le Mans, the Mille Miglia, and the Monte Carlo Rally. Still, the Renault 4CV had to be one of the most unlikely race cars of all time. Christoph says so-called suicide doors were common in the auto industry until the 1950s. And on this four-door Renault, the hinges for both the front and rear doors are attached to the B-pillar. Not only does it look good, it also reduces weight and costs. So do the simple vent windows and the Spartan seats. The car's progressive elements included its hydraulic brakes and its monocoque body, whose shape resembles the VW Beetle. Hardly surprising given that streamlined styles were in vogue both in Germany and France at the time. The Renault 4CV is a little masterpiece of engineering. It's almost 3.7 meters long, yet weighs less than 600 kilos. And it's a four-door model, which seats 4 comfortably. The workmanship is of high quality, and all of its details are well thought out. The 4CV may be simple in design, but there's nothing cheap about it. Christoph loves this wonderful lever which opens up the front hood. though here there's nothing to see but a spare tire and a bit of luggage space. That's because the motor is at the rear, just like with a VW Beetle. Though the 4CV has a water-cooled four-cylinder engine, not an air-cooled boxer, Christoph says the engine is reliable, easy to maintain, and most importantly, it can run at full throttle. Depending on its production year, the long-stroke 750cc engine generates 17, 21, or 33 horsepower. With this 21 horsepower model, drivers who work their way through the partially synchronized transmission's 3 gears can go from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 56 seconds. But that's pretty much as fast as the car will go. Christoph says at first the French were skeptical, but they soon grew to love the 4CV. So apart from a few minor alterations, the model remained basically unchanged until production ended in 1961. 1,105,000 of them rolled off the assembly lines. The 4CV was the first French car to sell over 1 million units, ahead of Citroën's 2CV. In Japan, the 4CV was still produced until 1963. Here, the little car was built under the license as the Renault 4CV, but it was affectionately called the Tortoise. Christoph says the 4CV saw the light of day a few months after the VW Beetle went on sale. Together with Citroën's 2CV, the 4CV did for France what the Beetle did for Germany. It brought mobility to the masses. It also established the tradition of building rear-engine cars at Renault, which continued into the 1970s. So he feels the Renault 4CV is definitely a milestone in automotive history. For 15 years, from 1946 to 1961, the 4CV remained a modern mode of transport. Its successor was the Renault 4, a very different but also very successful model. 8 million Renault 4s rolled off the assembly line over the course of 30 years. But it was the 4CV that established Renault's reputation as a compact car specialist.